I figured I'd take the elevator today. Alright, no small time for small talk. You saw the title of this video. You know who we're looking at. Legacy United G1 Universe Deluxe Class Optimus Prime. This is a figure I was excited when I saw the preview, but then when I started seeing the in-hand pics, this really blew my mind. This, we're going to have to talk a lot about this and where it fits in the grand scheme of things. So, really, that's about it. Let's get over to the light box. I think I'll take the stairs. Alrighty, so here we are in the box taking a closer look, and surprisingly, this figure comes loaded with accessories. First, I have it holding what would be a reproduction of the original toy blaster. You can tell by this thicker barrel. Pop that off. And then right over here, we do have the Energon axe, and that will just slide on. Now, I did a little faux pas, at least a personal faux pas. I had the axe on the left hand. I've always felt that the axe should always be on the right hand because that's the way it was in the cartoon. By the way, again, a G1 toy reproduction, and it comes with the axe. I think that's kind of cool that such an important, like 30 seconds, and becomes such an important part of the lore. And here on the back, you do have a little peg you can store the other blaster. Unfortunately, you cannot store the axe. There's nowhere on this figure in robot mode that you can store the axe. That's a little disappointing. Maybe they could have molded in a slot or something that could have slid it, had it slide on. But to be honest with you, I really don't think I would display this with the axe, since, it was really, again, 30 seconds of, like, screen time. I basically would just use the blaster, and that's it, so I could also store it in the back. Now, this other blaster, this is one... knock the toy over, why don't you? This is actually kind of cool. This is based on a version of the blaster when they've redone, I should say reissued Prime over the years. They've actually would redo, for whatever reason, redid the blaster, and they gave it this more tapered barrel that looks more like the ion rifle from the cartoon. And if you look, besides the barrel, there are differences here in the stock, with the new one being a little wider, a completely different look to the grip section, even coming up to where I guess would be like the front hand, the handrest, maybe a laser sight or something like that. Even that's a little bit different. I mean, very slightly. On the original, it angles back. This one comes down square. So it is really cool. So in a way, forget about homaging the original G1 toy. This can be used to homage the one of the reissues, which some of you out there, that really might have been your first Optimus Prime. Now, I mentioned the size, and this is actually a very small deluxe. I had seen the photos, but it's not until you get this in hand. I mean, this is smaller than the original G1 cab. And to give you an idea of how small this is, instead of bringing in Studio Series 86 Prime, here's Studio Series 86 Bumblebee. And while, yes, it is bigger than Bumblebee, in terms of scale, this really doesn't scale as well as they kind of should, at least compared to the original G1 toy and the Minibot. But this kind of does give you an idea, like, this is kind of small. And you're actually, keep in mind, same price, both figures. I mean, so, yeah. And in terms of joints and plastic, I would say both have the same. But TJ Omega just did a very interesting video where he was talking about, that now Hasbro is really at a point where they can get us to pay for the name. that will they can do a smaller Bumblebee like that, or a smaller Optimus Prime, and we'll pay for it because it's Prime Bumblebee, you know. And then not for nothing though, um, maybe if that had like a different shade of yellow, or um, the original toy head, I could see this like palling around together. But maybe that's what the retro B will be like, which is actually using that licensed Volkswagen mold. So I actually think that might be bigger than this. So that'll be fun to see. Now, in terms of articulation, this is loaded. Bicep swivel, universal shoulders, head is on a ball joint, very expressive. Has that knight-like appearance, which I think this was like based on a knight's helmet or something like that. Is there light piping? Hold on as I take this out of frame and. Oh yeah, it's there. It's coming in from the top, but I think because the eyes are a little smoked, it doesn't really. You can kind of see it now when I'm playing with my finger, but that is nice. You have great hip articulation. This is, by the way, much better than the missing link. And we'll talk about the missing link. You have a front skirt here. That's actually kind of important. We'll get into that with the transformation. Gives you that clearance for the front. 90-degree bend at the knee. You have a swivel. The swivel at the legs is a little bit looser than I would like. And of course you have the toe articulation and foot. But it's not that bad. And of course, as I meant, as is always the litmus test for these figures now, at least for me, throw a blaster around here. Yep, you can get him in the Prime Leap, Gundam Leap pose. So that's kind of cool. That's actually something Missing Link cannot do. They kind of show you on the packaging how to like half it, but trust me, it's not the same. We know what to expect. So start off with the transformation. We'll go a little bit out of order here. Let's just peg the legs together. Make sure those ankles are straight, and there's tabs and slots on the inside of the leg. And to be honest, it's actually kind of tricky, like at least for me. I find it that if you get the ankles together, everything else comes together. Next, what you can do is open up the back here, flip the head in, and it's at this point, I almost forgot one of the important accessories. Prime does come with a matrix. Can't hold it. It is removable. Does come separate in the packaging. All the accessories come wrapped in tissue paper, but it's there, so that's nice. Now I guess we'll come to what a lot of people have said is the hardest and most dangerous part of the transformation, and that's basically the forearms here. There's a hint. This, right where my finger is, you'll notice it might be like a little different shade of red where the hand is, because I think the hand might be made of the same plastic because it's red painted blue. But this is a softer plastic, and it's meant to come down. It does flex a little and rotate. So what I recommend, and a lot of other people recommend, is get your thumb in there, and really once you get it up, try to like press instead of pull. And once you have that down, rotate the fist around, and keep in mind that there's only one way this can go. There's one way in, one way out. And then once you have it like this, instead of pulling from here, push on that joint there, and that will snap it back into place and bend the elbow. Let's do it again on this side. And again, the first couple times might seem a little scary. And yeah, if you've got big hands like I do, it's kind of tough to get in there. So once that's done, go ahead, bring the legs back like so, straighten out the toes. These, just like that. Be nice if they like locked in or slid a little, but what are you going to do? And now we're going to do the classic transformation, but there's a bit of a twist. And that twist involves this front bumper here that they don't mention in the instructions. What you want to do, flip that up, bring the arms back, and then you're going to bring the hip skirts down. And you'll see there are tabs here and slots on the front wheels, which are the skirts. And that front grille is going to tab in like that. So that will help secure the wheels. Now for the arms, on the back of the shoulder, there's a slot and there's a tab on the panel where the head folds into. That will go in like that. And then bring this around. The fist will tab into place. And then what you do is you just make sure the lower part of the forearm tabs into the thigh like so. Do it again on this side. Just pop it in. And then pop it in. Tab. And then tab. That helps secure everything in place. Now, full disclosure, my headlights kind of look a little off-center, so I don't know if there's some warpage going on. Again, I think that's a part of that softer plastic for the hinge. Oh, and for some reason, these smokestacks can rotate. But there you have Optimus Prime in its vehicle mode, excuse me. And of course, one little thing I have to point out, and I guess a lot of us would have to consider this a negative, is there are rubber wheels. So I heard the stories about Beachcomber and Sandstorm. The wheels are starting to deteriorate. They're taking the plastic around the wheels with it. So like if other figures were touching them. I don't know. When I pulled my Beachcomber out to do that comparison with Ruckus, it didn't seem that bad. So who knows? I think if you just store the figures properly, I think if you're like me and don't keep the figures on display, you might be okay. But yeah, so rolls quite nicely. Great detailing here to the cab. Now, before I show you the weapon storage, let me just come back and talk about this part. Now, this is designed for the axe to peg into, and I'll show you that in a second. But I don't think the Studio Series 86 trailer can fit in here because that's like a very thin post that goes straight through. But I think maybe the G1 style trailers with that thicker peg, that might actually go in there. But now, speaking of the axe, you just go put it on like this and press it down until it firmly sits in place. You know, if you don't push it down, it's actually going to feel a little loose. And then using the back of the legs here, you can just store the blasters. So it's a little unsightly, but at least it's there. And I mean, again, this really isn't how I would display the figure in vehicle mode. I would just be using the one blaster. So we'll see where that goes. And I do notice a little bit of stressing around the pegs here for the blasters. I don't know if that's just from where it came off the mold, or are these blasters stretching out those holes, but that's something to keep an eye on. Because these are painted like a painted plastic, very glossy black. So there you go. And like I said, this is a very small figure. Sits in the palm of my hand. So there's that. Kind of funny you have one of these Fairlight, I think they are. Somebody corrected me. I kept saying Peterbilt, but I think these are Fairlight cab over engine. So that's kind of nice. So, of course, to go back to robot mode, first thing you want to do is come in here, loosen up the arms a little. Now, for some reason in the instructions, they actually show you pegging the shoulders in and then angling the arms out like this, which it unpegs them. So I don't know why they do that. So once you have that done, come in the front here, untab the front grille there, that bumper from the wheels, bring the legs down, flip the feet forward. I would angle these out just a little so you can bring that down and it won't peg in. Because I think if that pegs in, it kind of limits. That really wouldn't affect the waist joint, but bring the arms out and forward. And now we're going to do that transformation back to the fist. So again, brace it with your thumb, rotate it around, and then push up. I've done this a few times, shall we say, and thus far, I haven't had that big of a problem or a worry. Separate the legs, angle the feet, and then of course come around the back here, and it might be a little tricky to get the head out. There is a little nubbin here that pegs in, so that can help, and then you can just grab the head crest of Prime, and that will bring it up. But close up the back here, make sure that head's forward. There we go. And here's Optimus Prime back in its robot mode. And like I said, this is basically how I'll be displaying the figure. And a lot of fun, really great. Probably one of the best deluxes they've put out this year. And I find it funny because this is really supposed to be the last wave of 2024. So I wonder if it's kind of on purpose that they put an Optimus Prime in what will basically be the wave that'll be on shelves during the holiday season. How many kids got an Optimus Prime Christmas of '84? So there's that. But, great figure. I'm just can't really say enough about it, but we're going to pause and we'll come back with my special final thoughts. If I'm doing my final thoughts on camera, it's big. And yeah, this is that big. You saw what it can do, saw how it transforms. Now, I know the big question is, how does this compare to Studio Series 86 Optimus Prime? Well, these are really two different figures. That is meant to encompass an animation style. This guy right here is meant to encompass the toy. Missing Link, and let me just say, I don't think it's a fair comparison between this and Missing Link. Missing Link was basically giving the G1 toy hips, ankles, and shoulders with a little bit of a waist swivel. Basically, the easiest way to explain it is the Missing Link figure is giving the original toy the extra articulation that it was prominent during the day. Basically, it moves like a G.I. Joe. That's the easiest way to explain it. This is a fully articulate. This can do the jump pose. This is like articulated like a Generations figure. Now, I know we've talked about Toy of the Year and how Studio Series 86 Prime is in its own category and stuff like that. That way to give other figures a chance. And I know we've talked about deluxe class gears. Well, let me just tell you, I feel so strongly about this figure in terms of what it is. I am putting it in the same category as Studio Series 86 Optimus Prime. This is the second Studio Series 86 Optimus Prime figure of the year. That basically means this transcends Toy of the Year, Figure of the Year. This is in that special category where it belongs. So that still means Toy of the Year is out there, but that should tell you how great this figure is. Now, from what I've heard, these are shipping 4 to a case, so you should be able to find them. This is not going to be an A-level figure like we've talked about in the past. That's strictly for the Studio Series line. That will still be Transformers 1 Prime, which I think will be replaced sometime next year by another Optimus Prime, I think from the games, believe it or not. So, but with 4 to a case, this shouldn't be that hard to find, and I'm pretty sure stores are going to keep this in stock because it is Optimus Prime. So, with that being said, don't fall for the trap of paying for scalper prices and stuff like that. I mean, I paid a couple bucks extra just so I could get the 3 deluxes together at the same time. I'm tired of this piecemeal, and then I end up with a bunch of extra boxes I gotta take out at the end of the week. So yeah, should be on shelves during the holidays. This is really something great. I mean, with that retro Prime from Walmart, the missing link, and now this, truly we have been celebrating Optimus Prime this year and really touching those nostalgia member berries inside. And I think this is like the pinnacle of it. So that's it for the review. If you like this review, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Sign up for my Patreon if you want to and have a chance. www.patreon.com/chuckdog1999. Once again, for G1 Universe Deluxe Class Optimus Prime, this is your old pal Chuck, and we will see you next time.